about 20 of us, including all 6 senators, had to be herded.
All righty, so let's talk about
this afternoon. Thank God.
what is going on.
It also happened to the U.S. delegation here. Senators forced to take cover. Senate
In the
Majority
world.
Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Mitt Romney in Tel Aviv, along with others, to
Please
meet with
join
Israeli
in.
officials as well as families of Americans taken hostage by Hamas terrorists. When you got off that plane, what was the first thing you wanted to tell Israel's leaders?
I wanted to tell Israel's leaders, we have your back.
Do you think there's hope to rescue American hostages?
Oh, of course there is.
All right, so when you get a chance, just join in.
If they can't get something.
Hope is all this family has. They haven't heard from their loved ones, Keith and Adrian Siegel, since Saturday, when neighbors saw Hamas terrorists march them from their home. You met with the United States senators. What did you tell them?
We all told them that we want our families back in Israel and now. We haven't got time. We need them to bring them back to their homes, back to their children, back to their grandchildren.
Just some of the Americans who have loved ones that are now hostages being held by those Hamas terrorists. Tonight, we have reporters fanned out all across the region. And first, we want to take you now to the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip, where those Israeli forces are preparing for an all-out assault on Hamas. Ellison Barber joins us now live from that tense border. Ellison, you've been reporting there for several days now, and you're in an area tonight where there's been heavy military movement. And I understand you've seen some equipment moving in just the last couple of hours.
Hey, Tom. Yeah, that's right. We've seen that happen a lot in the last few days since we've been here. In the last couple of hours, we have seen 2 small convoys, and you may be seeing some flashing over behind my shoulder. That is Gaza just behind us. In the last little bit of time, we've started to see the skyline back there light up with the pockets of orange 3 times in probably the last 10 minutes. But for the most part, things here have been eerily quiet. I spoke to you around this time last night and said the same thing. But what we have been seeing are movements of military equipment. We saw 2 small convoys tonight of flatbed trucks. That was a boom off in the distance in Gaza just now. But the flatbed trucks we saw, they were carrying armed personnel carriers into the direction of Gaza. One thing that was different tonight compared to when we saw military equipment the other day, they didn't stop at a military staging area that's nearby here. They kept going and appeared to be headed straight for the Gaza border. Tom?
And Ellison, I know you've been talking to Israeli soldiers there where you are. They're essentially waiting for this invasion to begin. How are they feeling right now? What's the mood there?
That was like the first morning I've actually.
Some of them are frustrated when they specifically.
Figured I'd start listening to what's going on in that.
Terror attacks that unfolded on Saturday.
Like anything,
they talk about their pain and their frustration. We met one IDF commander at a
people
gas
forget
station.
war
Not
is a
far
lot
from
of
here
days
today,
of nothing
and
happening,
to talk
and
to
then
us.
a couple hours
He
of
talked
just
about how frustrated he was
pure
that
hell.
it took so long for the security forces to respond to the
Hey,
initial
Ray,
terror
how we
attack,
doing?
and the fact that it has taken so many days.
Yep, U.S.
seemingly for any
Eisenhower
sort of
has
real
been
offensive
added to the
go
mix.
into Gaza to try and get the 100+
Hey,
people
Pilgrim.
out from inside. Tommy looked at me and he said, "I'm
I'm
32
waiting in the
years
doctor's
old.
office.
Me
Yeah, I
and
got to
many
go
other
and
men my age would walk into Gaza right
retake
now
my
and
labs.
say, take us, but
So
let the women,
I'm another
let
day
the
I
children,
can't
let
eat
the elderly go.
until
They
after
are
2
frustrated
o'clock.
because you have over 100 people inside of Gaza
I'm not happy
still
about it.
stuck, and so many of them, they really
So they
are
were supposed
very
to draw
young. They
3
are older.
vials of
They are
blood. They only
women. They
drew
are
2.
civilians who had nothing to do with
And they
any
called
of
me
the
and said, well, I'm
conflicts
sure
at
we
play
did
here.
3. And I
Tom?
said, well, you didn't. You only drew
Ellison
2.
Barber speaking to the soldiers and
So
the
I get to
families
go
that
in
are
at
there
2
on the front
o'clock
lines. Ellison, we thank you
and
for
get
your
blood drawn
report.
again.
It's been over 48 hours since the Israeli
And
military
then
gave a
we'll
warning to
talk about it
1.1
tomorrow about
million
how my
civilians
results
in
came
Gaza
out.
to evacuate and prepare in preparation for a ground offensive. Joining
And
us
for
tonight
checkup,
is the
Pilgrim, are you
international
sick or are you
spokesman for the
just
Israeli
getting
Defense
blood drawn
Force,
also?
Jonathan Conricus. Jonathan, I know your country is at war, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and our viewers tonight. There is news that the Rafah border in Egypt will be open for Palestinian foreign nationals, including Americans, to get out in just a few hours and for aid to come in. Can you tell us tonight categorically
So
that
basically,
there will be
I've
no
gotten rid
bombing
of
or shelling near this area
my
as people are trying to
satellite
cross
TV because
and humanitarian assistance is trying to get in?
DirecTV just started getting too political. And it got to the point where I'm going, once I got Starlink, I don't need you anymore.
Sorry, I was on mute.
I was like, I didn't mute that.
Thank you for having me. And I'll repeat what I said that wasn't audible. We've already
Make
tried
sure you hit the thumbs
with
up and please let
the
it run
Egyptians
through.
and
And
the Americans and others to coordinate the
trying to
safe
get some
passage of Americans out of the Gaza
showtime
Strip.
here.
We were for it, and of course
I've
made
got
sure
over
that there was
700
no
subs,
military
but
activity
my,
of ours in the area, but it was stopped by Hamas.
how would you
So
say,
it's very
my
much
hours
up to
viewed are very
Hamas
low.
to decide if
Yeah,
they're
I mean,
going
that's
to allow
kind of my fault.
and what is going to
I don't
happen. Of
spend
course,
a lot of
anything
time
humanitarian coordinated with Israel, with the government, or with the military will be respected clearly.
working on this. So I guess
Jonathan,
it
IDF
is
is
what it
reporting that there
is.
are 126 hostages confirmed. These are people kidnapped by the terrorists of Hamas that unleash so much evil on your people. Has there been any communication between Hamas and Israel or a third party like another country on freeing those hostages?
So I guess a
Not that I'm
cardinal
aware of, no.
has offered
I don't have to remind you about
to
Gilad Shalit, but many of our
take place
viewers
with
may
some
not be as
hostages.
familiar. He was an Israeli soldier that Hamas kept hidden for 5 years, 5 long years.
So
It took a
that's
prisoner
going to be
swap
kind
of
of interesting.
1,000 Palestinian prisoners to get him back. What makes you think Hamas will negotiate with you or the U.S. for those American hostages?
What Hamas will do is of less concern. And without going into politics and strategy, I don't think that Israel is looking to negotiate. What we are
Well,
going
Hamas
to
is
do
not
is
looking
to
to negotiate.
dismantle Hamas, its military leadership, its military capabilities, so that at the end of this war, Hamas doesn't have any military capability. And of course, it is our intention and commitment to the families of those held hostage to bring those Israelis home.
Right now, they're just trying to get our citizens out
I
of
know
there.
you were aware of that convoy
I'll
of
be honest with you,
Palestinians
why
that was
you'd be
struck
over there
with
to begin
70
with.
people, including children,
Hey,
trying to
me.
flee Gaza. Palestinian media, there are reports that it was an Israeli airstrike.
I mean,
I
the
know
way I look
Israel
at it,
is
it's
denying those reports. What is your
to be over there
understanding
is
of what
just not a
happened?
good
And was it
idea,
an Israeli
period.
airstrike that killed those innocent Palestinians?
Well, we're in a war zone. And when in war, lots of things happen at the same time.
there you go. Yes,
War also
shit
encompasses
happens in
the
war.
information realm. And what we have said unequivocally, Brigadier General Hagari, the IDF
Because it's funny that
spokesperson,
people have to be
and
reminded
everybody
of
else
that.
is that clearly we have not targeted any convoy, any civilians on that road, specifically on that road and nowhere else in general, but specifically to that location, clearly no purposeful targeting. It may have been an incident
Ooh,
of
steel
fire
helmet of
around
archery,
it,
both do
but that is
20%
very
more damage. I
unlikely.
think that's,
And
I'm going to
what I
want
would
that.
want to bring to the fore
Now I
is
got to
the
find a
fact
way
that the
to
Gaza Strip is
Jonathan,
governed by a territory.
afford it.
Yeah, I'd just like to complete and say.
Yeah,
that we
Jonathan, I
have
just
to
want to
be
stop. Yeah, Jonathan,
But I don't see us
I
staying
just
out
stop
of
you
it.
for a moment because this sounds a little
Unfortunately,
different
we have too
than
many
what we've heard
citizens
from Israeli officials. Are you saying there's still
from
a
both
possibility that it was indeed an
sides
Israeli
living
airstrike? It might have been a mistake, but it might have
and I
been
imagine a bunch
Israeli
of them are
bombs that
heading
killed
back
those
towards
70 people.
Israel to
So that
join.
was before, in the mid-sentence, that's where I was getting to. Gaza Strip is governed by a terrorist organization that has a long track record, proven record of lying.
Hey, Ark
falsifying,
Wildman, good
and
morning. Oh,
dealing in
so if you want to join the
misinformation.
stream, let me know.
We assess that it is Hamas who, in fact,
And I'm just,
staged
I got, this is
these
like the only
explosions,
news I've
and,
heard that's been kind of
Hamas
consistent,
is responsible for what happened
somewhat.
here. And at this stage, we have looked into the information provided by journalists. We have tried to corroborate questions and understand what happened. It is a very chaotic environment, and what I can say clearly,
So
unequivocally,
people are
is that we
surprised
did
that
not,
war is
in
chaotic.
any case, target
What
any
were they
convoy.
thinking?
But I want to be on the safe side and say, things can happen in war, but there was definitely nothing purposeful. And I think that the investigation should be looking at who would stand to gain from such a convoy being attacked, specifically on the route that we made sure would be open for evacuation. And the answer is clear. The organization that stands to gain from this is Hamas. And unfortunately, I don't think it would be beneath Hamas to attack their own civilians if they think that it would gain them anything in the realm of diplomacy or international public opinion.
Jonathan Conricus with the IDF. We thank you for your time tonight. Kate, I'm going to send it back over to you in New York.
All right, Tom, thank you. Just a few hours from now, that Rafah crossing on the southern end of Gaza bordering Egypt, we're told will open up as one of the only escape routes for foreign nationals, including Americans, inside of Gaza to get out of harm's way. A Palestinian official confirms to NBC News that will happen, but it's not clear how long it will stay open. Joining me now is Jeremy Bash. He's former chief of staff at the CIA and the Department of Defense and an NBC News national security analyst. Jeremy, good to have you with us. Can you help our viewers? We have some maps. Help viewers understand this Rafah border crossing. How big is it? How hard would it be to get many, many people through that opening?
Yeah, it's not very big. Imagine the size of like an NFL stadium with hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people, or at least 1 million people trying to get in this area. Look at this map right here. You've got Gaza up here in the orange. You've got Egypt, a contiguous land border between Egypt and Gaza. This border crossing is the only land crossing that is available to Palestinians coming south through the Gaza Strip. Israel over here in yellow, there are 2 border crossings up north. But for the people of Gaza, when they get into Egypt, they're going to be obviously in a country that can take care of them, provide humanitarian assistance for them.
All right, let's talk about reporting in the New York Times tonight that says that the goal of Israel's military goal, is to capture Gaza City. I think we have a different map. Gaza City is up in the northern part of the country. So walk us through that. If that is the goal, right in the middle of the evacuation zone, what does that mean?
Sure. Again, here, Israel in green, Gaza in orange. At the north end of Gaza City, the north end of the Gaza Strip is Gaza City. The population is going to be evacuating south out of this red area, down into the orange area, and then ultimately, potentially, some of them will leave through Egypt.
Although not yet, right? To be clear, right now it's just those who have foreign passports.
That's right. And ultimately, there will be humanitarian support that will go in through the Rafah crossing and from the green to the orange, and the population there will hopefully get some humanitarian relief. Israel's military objectives, Kate, I think it's important to note, is to try to isolate Gaza City and not to bulldoze the entirety of the Gaza civilian areas. Rather, they're going after specific targets. You can see here in the dark colors, specific areas where Hamas is assessed to have their command and control, where they're assessed to have their weapons caches, their rocket factories. And I think this is a very important point. Israel's military operation is not just to bulldoze a town. It's to go specifically intelligence-driven after specific points you see here on the map.
Those black areas that you see on the map are where airstrikes from Israel have created damage or some sort of...
And it's likely that those darker areas on the map here in black is where you will see ground operations, naval fires, long-range fires, drone strikes, and ground troops dismounted off of armored personnel carriers to go house to house to try to find hostages and track down Hamas terrorists.
While I have you, I want to ask about Secretary Blinken. Secretary of State has been all over the region over the last several days. We have a map of where he's been. This is shuttle diplomacy, right? This is going to talk with lots of different players. What's the goal?
The goal here is to ensure that Iran doesn't jump in, and he's gone to Egypt to talk about humanitarian assistance for the Gazans. He's talked to Qatar over here in the Persian Gulf to talk about how to negotiate with Hamas. They have a lot of influence with Hamas, potentially get the hostages out. He's gone to the United Arab Emirates and to Saudi Arabia and to Jordan, other Gulf and Arab allies and partners of the United States. They actually work cooperatively with Israel. They do not want to see a wider war. But I think, Kate, it's important to note that if Iran jumps into this through their proxy Hezbollah in the northern part of Israel, up there at the top of that yellow area.
Operates in southern Lebanon.
That's right, in southern Lebanon, at the top of that yellow part of Israel. If Hezbollah jumps in, that will essentially be a war between Israel and Iran. That's why we've got our carrier strike group in the eastern Mediterranean, right near Israel, in that waterway there. That's to deter Iran from jumping into this war.
Thank you so much. Very helpful to see it and talk about it. Jeremy Bash, appreciate it. Still ahead tonight, the Americans stuck in Gaza. I'll talk with a dad and grandfather here in the U.S., hoping his daughter's family will get out.
Join in.
Plus, as we
Just
go
pop
to
in the
break tonight,
StreamYard.
we hear from
More than
some
welcome
of
to
the
come
voices
in.
of this war on both sides.
They're basically bombing
Put
everywhere.
that back up
It's
there.
literally a humanitarian crisis, and we're just trying to help those who have been called up to the front lines, who have been displaced from
Now, it's
their
not like I agree with what's being said here. It's just one of the sources.
Welcome back
Hey,
to NBC
Daryl.
News, a special report on the war
Bloomington,
between Israel and
Indiana.
Hamas. I'm Tom Yamas, live
Up in
in Tel
Bloomington,
Aviv. And right
Illinois.
now, a second aircraft carrier, the USS Eisenhower,
Yesterday,
is speeding towards the
when we picked up
Mediterranean
meat, we
to
had
join the USS Ford off of
at
Israel
Hy-Vee, which
as
is one
part
of
of
the
the
better
US's response. And tonight, right now, I'd like to
meat
bring
places. They
in
had
our NBC News
85%
national security
lean,
correspondent Courtney Cubey. So, Courtney, explain to our viewers what the role of these two U.S. warships sitting off of
which
Israel
was
really is right now.
on sale for $3.99 a pound.
So right now, it really comes down to
So
one word,
I-
and that is
I picked
deterrence.
up
We just heard Jeremy Bash talking
probably
about
about
this
6
exactly. There is
pounds of
a
it.
real concern throughout the world, and especially here in the United States, that
I would've
this
got more,
war could
but,
spread into a regional conflict, that it could simply move outside the borders of Israel and
we're
Gaza.
traveling to
And
go
that's
see
the
my
real message
grandson.
that the U.S. is sending with the aircraft
So I wanted
carrier
to make
strike
sure
group, the
that I
USS
had-
Gerald R. Ford. It also has destroyers and a cruiser. And now the Eisenhower, as you mentioned, Tom, is speeding towards the Eastern
I had
Mediterranean with the associated ships
So
with it.
we
In addition to
kind of
that, the U.S. also sent forward attack and
behaved
fighter
herself
aircraft,
a little bit.
reconnaissance aircraft. So this is all about ensuring that anyone who might be considering, any group or nation who might be considering going in and trying to help Hamas, the administration continues to tell us the one word that they have for them is don't, Tom.
Let's speak about Hamas now and this impending ground invasion that could happen at any moment. We have kept hearing about these tunnels, and I know we have video to show our viewers about how Hamas operates
All right,
underneath
so-
Gaza. They have essentially an entire city, sort of
Circlet
like the Viet Cong did during
archery,
Vietnam.
but they have
And we
one
know
of
that
the
during
better
that
stuff, so
time,
sell that.
people had to go in there essentially with a 45 and a flashlight and try to fight it out in the tunnels. How has time changed, and is that type of warfare essentially the same, except now in an urban environment?
It's similar. So
There
now
we
there's
go.
some surveillance capabilities that will
those
give the
sold
Israelis, with support from other nations, including
Those
the
are gonna
U.S.,
keep.
a little bit of a better picture of what might be underneath those tunnels. But it's still an extremely murky picture. And then when you add to that the fact that there are hostages, civilians who may have been taken down into those tunnels, who may be spread out through this enormous, massive network of tunnels that's all underneath
Let's see
Gaza.
what he's got
That
to sell,
only complicates
anything
the factor. In addition to that, there's also the complicating factor
else.
of concern, according to U.S. officials who we've been speaking with, that some of the Hamas fighters may have already tried to flee through those tunnels, maybe even taking some of those hostages with them, Tom.
All right, Courtney Cubey with us. Courtney, we appreciate that. Kate, I'm going to send it
So I
back to
got
you in New
enough
York.
money.
Okay, Tom, thank you. There are
go
around
buy
500 or
that
600 American
archery helmet.
citizens still in Gaza tonight, according to the State Department. That includes
So
the daughter
yeah,
of
this
our
is
next guest. Her name is Emily
going on today.
Rauschenberger.
Angry
Her
Prepper
family was
had
visiting Gaza when the war
a few things
erupted.
done about the
Emily was
war
born
and
in the
saying
U.S.
people
Her 5
freaking out
children
that
are U.S. citizens too.
you
Her
know,
husband
they're
is
being violent and
Palestinian
that, and they're like,
and a
well,
British
what
citizen.
do you expect
Emily's
the war
father,
to be?
John Rauschenberger, joins me now. John, good to see you
That's
again. You
good.
and I first spoke on Thursday, and you were really worried. I know that it's been hard to reach Emily this weekend,
I'm
but
on
I
a slow
understand. I know you were
tablet.
able to talk with her this
Yeah, I
morning.
bought
How
a
are they
tablet,
doing?
and
They're doing quite well under the
I know it's the
circumstances.
same thing. It's
My daughter's quite
far
forceful
slower.
and focused and steely-eyed, if you will, in keeping her my five grandkids
Yeah,
under
my,
control as a full-time job. But she's very optimistic, and they've been through the
my
Rafah
phone and
boarding in the
computer.
past when
I
they
was kind of
delivered
surprised
her
by that.
husband's, when they visited her husband's olive tree farm over in the
I
southeast
thought
corner.
that it would be
I think she knows what she's getting involved in. It's just when will they
better
open
shape
up the
than
border?
that.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
John, I
live and
know
learn.
that they were there to visit her husband's family. As you said, they have an olive farm. They've been moving around a lot within Gaza the last few days. You told us that they're now staying in a 3-bedroom apartment with 31 people in it.
That's
What are her biggest concerns as she waits to try to get out of Gaza potentially tomorrow?
She shared with me, she had kind of a blackout for about 36, 38 hours. We couldn't connect with her. Just talked with her the first time this Sunday morning for about 20 minutes. Their biggest concern is an errant rocket. They do not have, there's not street fighting going on in the southern end of Gaza.
Right.
They're very close to the border, and they are more concerned about, again, an errant rocket. It went one night without any rockets. I think that would have been Friday
so I
night.
was on
But
Facebook.
Saturday, or last night, if
yesterday,
you will.
and he had
There was two
made
rocket
a
hits on a
comment
building within her area, she said. And of course,
on
they
my
still
regular
felt the
page. I do
concussion.
have a
So she knows
one
she
for
knows
working
they have to
out,
be somewhere. But her biggest safety
But,
concern at this point in
the
time
one I was
is an
on
errant
was just
rocket.
my regular
She
one,
did
and I had a
say,
guy.
Dad,
And
you know,
basically, it
we're
was
not
if
having
you
the
don't
fighting in the
understand why
South
we
they
need to have
Yeah, it's different in the south.
what we have
I know
going
a
on right now,
Palestinian
why
official,
we
as
should
we have
have.
said, says the Rafah crossing, the
kill
only
that.
way out right now, will open tomorrow morning. You told us your daughter's family waited 10 hours at that crossing the other.
I'll mute that. All right. And his thing was, come on. There we go. Stop sharing. There we go. His thing was, they're showing people on hang gliders coming in and saying if there was ever a reason to have trying to get my thing reason to have an AR-15 or an AK-47, this was it. And we had this guy, he's around my age and that, and he's like, no, there's no reason to have it and that. And I'm just like, at what point did you not understand what was being said to you? And of course, he caught some crap from everybody, which he should have. But it was just, it was amazing that, he still doesn't understand the need of having these type of weapons. Just like, if you don't see the need now, then you never are going to. Well, that's interesting. And I mean, he still didn't have the idea of, time to have flaming harpoons. It was like, I mean, for real, dude. Ukraine war, what the first thing they do? They started handing out weapons. What the first thing they wanted? They wanted weapons. It's like, how do you not understanding the importance of this? And he's just like, no one needs it. It's terrible. And I'm like, you have no clue. There's still that person that will not learn, even when it should be obvious that this is the type of stuff that you need. I think it should be obvious. And they're still lost. They're still confused. I mean, just how dumb is America? I don't understand it. Just how far have we fallen in common sense that people don't understand that, some of the stuff is, so let me go to Newsmax here and see if there's, don't need the app. There we go. Oh, didn't want that. A commercial. Let me share this one. It's not common anymore. Right. They're definitely not preppers. They're talking about already I want to wait till that commercial gets done. Something I want to share, but they got a commercial going on right now. I mean, yeah, especially where they live. They don't understand that this is a bad idea. I don't understand it. I mean, there's truly evil people out there. And they just don't get the clue. They don't get the clue by now. I'm thinking they never are. They have commercials going on. Plenty of commercials going on. Come on, Newsmax. Not like TV. I want to see some information. And you got nothing but commercials going on. Almost out. Got to go find an outlet. University campus. Students everywhere. Are they protesting or are they actually trying to learn something? I appreciate it, Daryl. Yeah, I'm going to keep this running for a while because I can't eat anything today. So if I can't eat, I'm probably not going to be doing any exercises. I just got to remember to drink a lot of water this time. So I have an easier time drawing blood from me. Bunch of vampires. There we go.
Hospital you see there live on the other side of your screen there. And today in the north, Israeli forces operating on the Lebanese border came under fire. The IDF now conducting counterstrikes. Israel also now saying Hamas has 199 hostages. That is up from the 150 reported days ago. Israel also believes Iran reportedly planned these attacks for a year and that Hamas had sophisticated training and intelligence.
Sure.
Still, our president, Joe Biden, says he believes there is no direct link to Iran for this attack. Biden today canceling a campaign trip to Colorado for national security meetings. And here, much closer to home, FBI Director Christopher Wray warns of a spike in reported domestic terror threats linked to Israel's war against Hamas. He is warning all Americans to look out for lone actors amid heightened environment. Now, the number of Americans killed now in Israel has risen to at least 30, and 14 are still unaccounted for today. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in Israel after a weekend of meetings across the Middle East, though tensions could not be higher as Israel prepares for a massive aerial and ground attack to wipe out Hamas. Let's get you right to the front lines. Our Daniel Cohen is standing by for us in Tel Aviv with more on what is happening there. Obviously, Daniel, we know Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with about a dozen Middle Eastern leaders over the weekend. And now President Biden himself has been invited to Israel to go there as well.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Bianca, hello. Good to see you. First, got to catch the breath. Everything you just said to set the table, that was almost all today. I mean, there has been so much that's happened, and there's more breaking news to pass along because we're getting word that Israel has captured or arrested a Hamas intel chief. That's a very big deal, especially considering the hostages. So that news just broke. I'll dig into that, and I'll share what I can with you the next time I see you in about an hour. But in the meantime, another bit of really big breaking news. A leading Arab lawmaker here in Israel is calling on Hamas to release the hostages. Mansour Abbas is his name. He's not a household name in the United States, but it's a big deal because he's the head of the Islamist Ram Party. He's Palestinian, and he's urging the leaders of the terror group to free the 199 hostages that were kidnapped on October 7th, taken into Gaza. It's one thing to have Jewish leaders. It's one thing to have Netanyahu, Secretary Blinken, the 5 American senators that are here on a bipartisan delegation.
The reason that they were so successful, and
perhaps
it's something that Jason and the angry Trumper didn't realize,
maybe that will hold more sway.
is that
while the majority of the hostages are being held by Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, another faction, is claiming to be holding 30 hostages of its own. And that complicates efforts to bring about the release.
Obviously now.
Like you mentioned, Bianca, Secretary Blinken is back here today. He was in 6 different Middle Eastern countries over the weekend. It was being called the Crisis Tour. He's trying to help persuade Egypt to open up a humanitarian corridor through the only land crossing out of Gaza. They're not coming into Israel. The only place for the Gazans to go would be to South Gaza and then into Egypt. Israel preparing a major ground offensive to eradicate Hamas. Seeing them staging tanks, airplanes, soldiers all along the Gaza border right now. Here's Israel's information officer. He's actually a well-known Israeli influencer. And I spoke to him. He visited the kibbutz with Prime Minister Netanyahu, where those babies' heads were decapitated. Listen.
They either realize, okay,
radical ideologies have no borders, and they negate the right of existence for Jewish people, the existence of Israel. They want to destroy and kill my wife, my family, the entire nation of Israel. So just like you Americans wouldn't tolerate that, thousands of rockets were fired into our homes, towns. Civilians were called to run to bomb shelters. Millions of people.
They use fully automatic birds.
Army of Israel is striking back
what we have.
Precisely the terrorists, and we have every right to do that.
It looks scary. Big deal.
Prime Minister Netanyahu chaired the first meeting of the country's emergency government cabinet since the start of the war. The cabinet began with a minute, I believe it was, of silence for all the Israelis who were killed. Meantime, the troops that are being amassed on the ground.
What was that?
I think we lost Daniel's live feed right now.
Okay.
We have you back, Daniel? I know you're finishing your report there about this meeting, which I believe we're seeing part of right now. Yes. So we have you back now, loud and clear.
I'll just finish with this, Bianca. And that is this. Iran's foreign ministry, everybody's watching because Iran threatened. They said that if Israel goes in and leads this ground offensive against Hamas in Gaza, that Iran will intervene directly. So what does that mean? Well, we heard earlier Iran's foreign ministry saying that there was some kind of a deal and that they may consider asking Hamas to release the hostages, those 199, 200 or so, if it means that Israel won't go in and do this ground offensive. So if I'm still with you, I don't know. I know my live chat there was an issue there, but we're watching that situation very closely. Hamas hasn't acknowledged that, but Iran is saying that there could be some sort of a deal in the works.
Daniel Cohen reporting live for us in Tel Aviv with all that new information. And yes, we will be checking back in with you moment by moment. Things are definitely breaking, Daniel, where you are. Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the northern border. Israel is accusing Iran of ordering Hezbollah to attack the northern border. In fact, today we know the IDF are evacuating residents near the Lebanese border, getting people to state-funded guest houses. We want to go live right now to Beirut. Actually, we're going to go live in just a few minutes to Beirut with our FSA foreign correspondent Mia Alberti once we establish connection with her. But standing by right now for us with more reaction on what is happening and also some of the comments made by President Joe Biden is former White House advisor Sebastian Gorka, also the host of the Gorka reality check airing right here on Newsmax, Sunday, 7 and 10 p.m. Sebastian, welcome in. It's good to see you. Obviously, a lot of movement on the front lines there as we look and see what Israel's ground offensive will look like maybe in the coming hours. But we do know that the president sat down with 60 Minutes earlier last week and continues to say there's no link to Iran, denying any involvement. I want to play a little bit of this interview that, again, was taped last week but aired last night.
Is Iran behind the Gaza war?
I don't want to get into classified information, but to be very blunt with you, there is no clear evidence of that.
At this point, no evidence that Iran is behind any of this.
Correct. Now, Iran constantly supports Hamas and Hezbollah. I don't mean that. But in terms of did they have foreknowledge? Did they help plan the attack? There's no evidence of that at this point.
Oh, come on. Sometimes you don't need
So
evidence.
there are credible reports that not only did Iran help and Hezbollah help and know of this attack, that there was maybe a year planning. And the fact that there's intelligence coming out that the Hamas terrorists knew exactly where to go once they entered into Israel that Saturday morning to wipe out communications for the IDF. How can, obviously we know that there's been so much money sent to Iran, but this continues to be a sticking point for this White House here to admit this. I'm having trouble hearing Sebastian. Okay, I think we lost you as well. Stand by, though, Sebastian. I do believe now John Huddy is joining us, and he is in southern Israel, where he has been for several days now in Ashkelon. John, we heard from Daniel Cohen in Tel Aviv talking about some of the developments happening today. Tell us what you're seeing on the ground there.
Well, there's been, steady rocket fire, barrage of rockets throughout the day, throughout the weekend, as well as the IDF gears up for the major ground offensive. And as it does, it continues to battle Hamas and basically push Hamas back from the border as IDF troops have conducted localized raids, basically going across the border into Gaza, clearing of mines and getting ready for this offensive. But earlier today, we went with the IDF to a base here in southern Israel. I won't say where exactly for security reasons. You're going to hear that a lot from me. You already have over the last couple of days, and you'll continue to. But we went to this base to see the arsenal of weapons that the IDF collected from Hamas. We're talking about anti-tank mines. We're talking about grenades. We're talking about thermobaric grenades, things that were thrown into houses, grenades that were put, into child's cribs when they went into these villages, the kibbutzim, to clear, these areas of Hamas. They found the people's homes booby-trapped, toys booby-trapped with mines, with grenades. They also found RPGs, North Korean RPGs. They showed us a row of RPGs, things collected, by the way, yesterday. And there were a bunch of gray RPGs that are North Korean. They found them before, back in 2014 during Operation Protective Edge. They found Soviet-era made RPGs. And then, according to the IDF, they found something they haven't found before in any war with Hamas, and that is Iranian-made mortars, about 20 of them that they've discovered thus far. Again, yesterday, they're expecting this is going to continue and proving, as we've been talking about, as the IDF has been saying, and as I've been talking about now since this war began, Iran's involvement as far as funding and arming not only Hamas, but Hezbollah as well. And speaking of Hezbollah, I didn't hear Daniel's report, but there's been a lot of action in the north along the border with southern Lebanon, a lot of cross-border fire. And obviously the concern is about Hezbollah's potential involvement in this, making it a multi-front conflict. And then obviously then that raises serious concerns about Iran joining. This is why the United States has sent two carrier strike groups, the Eisenhower and also the Gerald R. Ford special operations, teams based off those carrier groups. So, the U.S. and Israel's allies are keeping a very close eye on this. We've seen the border, we've seen troop buildup along the border. I'm not going to say exactly where, but yesterday we saw artillery, howitzer cannons. We've seen a lot of troops throughout the region, a lot of ground combat troops, a lot of combat engineering, which my brothers-in-law are part of, as I talked to you about yesterday. So the IDF says its primary objective right now, Bianca, is to destroy Hamas's military and political capabilities. This, as the IDF continues to warn upwards of 1 million Gazans in Gaza City and the northern part of Gaza to go south, to continue south to the Rafah crossing with Egypt. This, according to the IDF, as Hamas is blocking those escape routes, 2 main escape routes, with vehicles, with barricades, preventing men, women, and children from escaping and fleeing south.
Barbaric. And now 199, the latest number of hostages that we know Hamas has, that has been upped as well. Reporting live for us in Ashkelon, John Huddy. Thank you, John. We'll be seeing you a little bit later on in the broadcast. All right, Sebastian Gorka back with us now for more reaction on President Joe Biden's comments regarding Iran. Sebastian, clearly there is obviously concerns about escalation. Iran saying it will take a direct involvement if Gaza is attacked, which we know the IDF is planning to do. Your take on this administration here and some of the comments made on 60 Minutes.
Well, they're just blatant lies. They have to deny. Why? Because as soon as it turns out that, of course, Iran was behind the largest, most coordinated Hamas attack in history, everybody's going to ask the simple question: why did Biden give billions of dollars? So forget about the $6 billion sitting in an escrow account somewhere in the Middle East. They've given billions of dollars in the last 2.5 years. That's just a statement of fact. So when you have Jake Sullivan 2 weeks ago say the Middle East has never been this stable, and then almost 2,000 Jews get slaughtered in one day, and also Americans, and there's an ongoing hostage situation. This is, forget arms for forget Oliver North and the Contras. This makes the Contra scandal look like a small tiff. This is one of the biggest scandals in modern American history. That an event the likes of which we haven't seen since the Holocaust could have been funded indirectly by the Biden White House. That's why he had to lie.
And now with Iran getting even closer to nuclear capabilities is also, bringing us closer to the brink of a potential nuclear scenario here with money that has been sent over. As you know, obviously that is the biggest concern when it comes to escalation and where this could go. Sebastian Gorka, always a pleasure to see you, sir. We'll be watching you on the Reality Check Sunday starting at 7 and 10 p.m. as always. Good to see you.
That's a good place. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. All right, let's talk a little bit more about what is happening on the northern border. Obviously, heightened concerns. We do know Israeli forces were fired upon along the Lebanese border. Joining us live right now from Beirut is FSN correspondent Mia Alberti with details on what's happening there this evening. Mia, welcome in.
Hi, Bianca. Yes, we saw a small clash at the border. I think we can call it small, with Hezbollah publishing a video firing at surveillance cameras on the Israeli side of the border, which is a disputed area, and so destroying some of Israeli military capacity. And another round of retaliation, according to Hezbollah, it is a retaliation against the attacks that we have seen in the last few days, the Israeli airstrikes that have injured journalists and killed civilians and journalists as well. The Israeli Defense Forces replied to that first attack with shelling nearby villages in this border region, but no casualties or injured were reported today. And it is fair to say that this does not represent any idea of Hezbollah entering a war with Israel. As long as we keep seeing this kind of cross-border fire where we don't see a large number of casualties, a large number of damages, if we don't see this clear intention of killing people, as some analysts have told me, it's fair to say that Hezbollah and Israel have not actively engaged. Again, just for context, this kind of cross-border fire is constant throughout the years. It's not something that happened this week, although this week has taken another dimension more than we are used to, but it's still not a sign that there's a conflict, but it is enough for thousands of people in Lebanon, in southern Lebanon, starting already to leave their houses, either to another part of the country or outside. Many foreigners already leaving, and many diplomatic missions also asking their citizens not to travel to Lebanon.
No, they're not again.
Clearly, good advice there with so much instability. Mia Alberti live for us in Beirut. Thank you, Mia.
We're
also following the latest here stateside. FBI Director Christopher Wray, folks, says threats here in the United States have been increasing since Hamas attacked Israel, and he is warning of potential copycats right here in America.
Yeah,
in this heightened environment, there's no question we're seeing an increase in reported threats, and we've got to be on the lookout, especially for lone actors who may take inspiration from recent events to commit violence of their own.
I hope it goes well.
Christopher Wray speaking this weekend at the International Association of Chiefs of Police Conference in San Diego, California. Now, his remarks come again after the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. The FBI has not formally updated its threat assessments, however, since last week. We'll continue to follow the latest breaking news happening in the Middle East at this very hour. We do know Israeli forces massing for an imminent ground attack, and evacuation orders are underway in northern Gaza. Also new in the past hour, we've learned the U.S. Embassy in Cairo is tracking at least 253 Americans looking to depart before that offensive begins. Will they get across through the Rafah Bridge? We'll continue to monitor that. Stay with us. We're back after a very quick break. More Newsline for you ahead.
Seriously.
Will you be able to afford your golden years? Do you worry how you'll make ends meet? You may be leaving up to $100,000 unclaimed. You need this special report. How to boost your Social Security and retirement by at least $100,000 or more. Get your free copy today. You've earned the benefits. Take advantage now. See our special offer to claim your free report. Call or go online today.
I do take Balance of Nature and have for years. I love to go on walks, hikes, anything physical. I enjoy golfing, and I feel like Balance of Nature helps me to maintain that active lifestyle that is so important to me. Here I am, 81 years old, and yet I'm walking, playing golf. We will stay on it forever.
Start now by going to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code NEWSMAX.
Breaking news. This is an important update for military personnel, their families, and civilians who lived, worked, or were stationed on Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987. The federal government just announced expedited settlement amounts of $100,000 to $550,000 for those exposed to the toxic water at Camp Lejeune for at least 30 days and were diagnosed with kidney, liver, or bladder cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, leukemia, multiple myeloma, Parkinson's disease, kidney or end-stage renal disease, and systemic sclerosis or scleroderma. If you or a loved one lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune and were diagnosed with these or other conditions, call the Victims Justice Group now. Our attorneys will work to get you the compensation you deserve. The expedited settlement amounts can help ease the pain and suffering you or a loved one have experienced. But depending on your exposure, it may or may not be your best option. Our attorneys will work to ensure you know the facts and can make an informed decision that is best for you. Last year, the PACT Act was signed into law, allowing servicemen and women women, their family members, and civilian workers who lived or worked at Camp Lejeune for at least 30 days to seek justice for injuries caused by toxic water. If you or a loved one lived or worked at Camp Lejeune during August 1953 through December 1987 and suffered injuries associated with the toxic water found at Camp Lejeune, including bladder, kidney, or liver cancer, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, leukemia, aplastic anemia, or other cancers or severe medical conditions, call the Victims Justice Group now. Our attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve for your pain and suffering. Studies have shown that the drinking water on Camp Lejeune was contaminated with highly toxic chemicals, and these chemicals have been linked to many types of cancers, neurological conditions, miscarriages, and birth defects. If you or a loved one suffered any of the conditions listed on your screen and lived, worked, or served on Camp Lejeune for at least 30 days from August 1953 through December 1987, don't delay. Call the Victims Justice Group helpline now.
And see. Wow.
Welcome back, everyone. A live look here at Gaza outside of the hospital. Evacuations are underway right now. And over the weekend, Iran threatened to intervene if Israel does carry out a ground offensive in the Gaza Strip, which we know the IDF is expecting to do to defend itself after the atrocities by Hamas. And also today, we've learned the number of hostages has increased to 199. That is the latest number being held by Hamas terrorists, according to Israeli officials. Let's welcome in now Wisconsin Congressman Brian Stile to talk about this and also the speaker's race happening in D.C. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us today on Newsline.
Yeah, we're getting cold water now.
Thanks for having me on.
Obviously, we know there's a lot of factors playing into this, what and if Iran will do, when they will do it. Obviously, it's not just Hamas, it's Hezbollah as well. But I'd like to play a clip from President Biden, something he said on 60 Minutes about what Israel, he thinks, should do in Gaza.
Would you support Israeli occupation of Gaza at this point?
I think it'd be a big mistake. Look, what happened in Gaza, in my view, is Hamas and the extreme elements of Hamas don't represent all the Palestinian people. And I think that it would be a mistake for Israel to occupy Gaza again. But to going in and taking out the extremists, the Hezbollah is up north, but Hamas down south is a necessary requirement.
Are these even comments, in your opinion, President Biden should be making with the media right now?
Last thing I want to have is
it's such a frustrating moment to have such a weak leader for the United States of America. This is a moment in time for us in the United States to stand with our ally Israel as they take out the terrorists that conducted this horrific action upon Israel just last week. We need to stand strong with Israel. We need to make sure that they have the resources they need, and they need to ultimately remove the terrorist threats that remain on their borders.
Well, clearly, President Biden also saying Iran is not directly linked to that. I don't know what type of evidence he would want. What do you think would make the president actually say, yes, there's a link here, when there's all these reports saying a year of planning, at least, Congressman?
This administration continues to be apologists for what the Iranian regime is doing. We know the Iranian regime is the leading state sponsor of terrorism, is providing funds and resources to both Hamas and Hezbollah. Whether or not they had technical knowledge or not, whether or not we find that out in the end, we do know that it is the Iranian resources that are being utilized to conduct these terrorist actions against Israel. This is the administration that allowed Iran to have access to over $6 billion. They look the other way as it relates to oil sanctions, and they continue to apologize for the actions of the Iranian regime rather than standing strong against the fact that Iran continues to be the lead state sponsor of terrorism across the globe.
Let's talk about the speaker race that is happening in D.C. Some people are getting a little frustrated that it's still going on, but it looks like Jim Jordan now has apparently gotten some more support. I'm not sure if he has the 217, but there will be a vote we're hearing tomorrow at noon. Will you be supporting Ohio Congressman, Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan?
I'll be supporting Jim Jordan. I think he has a great opportunity here to unite the Republican conference. If we're united, we have the true opportunity to push back and hold the Biden administration accountable, work to secure the border, get our spending in check, and stand with our ally. if we are unable to become united, that strengthens President Biden's hand. I think it's essential that we become united, and I'll be supporting Jim Jordan for Speaker.
Congressman Brian Stile, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It's good to have you in. And we'll be watching that vote, obviously, live tomorrow. It's expected at noon. But let's dive a little bit deeper now into what is also happening on the Hill. Jim Jordan, as we just mentioned, is trying to gain support. But this is after about 6 of fellow Republicans voted against him in a secret ballot vote on Friday. Now, the number of those Republicans trying to block a vote from coming to the floor tomorrow, a number of them insisting that they will not support Jordan. However, he did get a big endorsement from one of them that was holding out. It's Congressman Mike Rogers of Alabama. Today on X, he posted that Jim Jordan and I have had 2 cordial, thoughtful, and productive conversations over the past 2 days. He writes, we agreed on the need for Congress to pass a strong NDAA, appropriations to fund our government's vital functions, and other important legislation like the Farm Bill. As a result, I have decided to support Jim Jordan for Speaker of the House on the floor. That vote, again, scheduled for tomorrow at noon. Let's get you out to D.C. Logan Raddick is live for us with more on what's happening and what he's hearing there on the ground. I know that was a big endorsement because he had been one of the big holdouts there, Logan.
He was, Bianca, and Jim Jordan has made progress over the weekend. According to Thomas Massey of Kentucky, he has been able to sway a number of the holdovers, and we've seen this morning a few of them come out with statements, including Ann Wagner of Missouri and California's Ken Calvert, but also, as you mentioned, Alabama Congressman Mike Rogers. He is the chair of the House Armed Services Committee, and he put out a statement this morning saying he is now behind Jim Jordan in the speaker's race, and that they talked about defense spending and also agreed on priorities like passing the Farm Bill. So other sources are telling Newsmax that there are still at least 15 to 20 Republicans who do not want Jim Jordan to be Speaker. Bianca, as you alluded to, more than 6 Republicans voted against Jordan. And for Austin Scott on Friday, another 14 Republicans were out of town. So again, Jordan making calls over the weekend because he can only afford to lose 4 Republicans if he wants to be able to secure the votes needed to become Speaker of the House with a potential floor vote tomorrow. But Jim Jordan himself has expressed that he doesn't think it's a good idea to bring a vote to the floor unless he has the support he needs to become Speaker. This is what he told our own Greta Van Susteren.
I don't think we can come out of the conference and go to the floor of the House of Representatives until we have 218. I don't think our conference, I don't think the country wants to go through the same thing we went through back in January.
Over the weekend, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries floated the possibility of trying to court Republicans in order to secure his own effort to become Speaker of the House. Remember, Democrats have been nominating Jeffries, and all of the Democratic caucus has been voting for him. Here's what Jeffries told NBC News.
There are informal conversations that have been underway. When we get back to Washington tomorrow, it's important to begin to formalize those discussions. We have made clear publicly and privately that we are ready, willing, and able to enter into a bipartisan governing coalition.
And Republicans say there is no way that is going to happen. Carlos Jimenez, a Republican from Florida who says he will only vote for Kevin McCarthy, the former speaker, says there's no way he's going to make a deal with Democrats. And the same statement is being made by Russell Fry, the South Carolina congressman who is still supporting Jim Jordan at this point in time. Fry writes, quote, I will never support a deal to give control of the U.S. House to Democrats. The people are paying attention. They want us to elect Jim Jordan as speaker this week, and we should listen. Now, Jim Jordan, just a short time ago, he sent out a letter to his Republican colleagues saying that he will be able to unite the Republican conference. But again, Republicans meeting behind closed doors tonight. It's unclear if Jim Jordan has enough support in order to be elected speaker if a vote comes to the floor, which is likely going to happen tomorrow. Bianca.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you, because remember last week we were Steve Scalise had the votes and they were going to do a 3 p.m. vote, then they pushed it back. Are you getting any inclination if this closed door meeting doesn't go in the way where he's close to 217 or feels confident that they won't bring it to the floor? They'll continue to meet behind closed doors as they don't want to do this in public and have rounds and rounds of voting, Logan?
Yeah, that's the case, Bianca, but also keep in mind the timing of all this. It's been now over a week without a Speaker of the House, and we saw Steve Scalise, after not being able to garner enough support last week, he ended up dropping out of the race, leaving it open to Jim Jordan on Friday. Again, Jordan, 55 votes short of having the full support of his conference on Friday. So if he can't gain that support that is needed in order to win a vote on the floor tomorrow, you might end up seeing Jim Jordan dropped out. But the question is, Bianca, which Republican can hit that magic number?
Right.
It's unclear. And again, we saw Kevin McCarthy need 15 rounds to do that back in January.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a flurry of activity there on the Hill. Logan Raddick tracking it all for us. Thanks, Logan. Appreciate it. All right, folks, there's some more breaking news to tell you about right now, and it is happening in one of Donald Trump's cases. Breaking just moments ago, Judge Tanya Chutkan, the federal judge in D.C., has partially granted the DOJ's motion for a gag order in Trump's 2020 election case. There's an actual trial hearing happening right now regarding this trial, and she is saying that she will bar Trump from this in this gag order from attacking prosecutors, witnesses, and court staff. But the judge also says she will not impose any further restrictions on statements Trump may make about Washington, D.C. and the jury poll. Judge Chutkan also saying she will not impose any gag order restrictions on any criticism the former president makes of the Biden administration or statement Trump believes the case is politically motivated. So again, breaking news right now, a very limited gag order in Trump's federal 2020 election case pertaining just to prosecutors, witnesses, and court staff. We're watching this as reaction comes in. So stay with us for more on that ahead for you on Newsline. And of course, we're watching the very latest on the war in Israel right now. A live look there at Jerusalem. Iran is saying it will intervene if Israel invades Gaza. What could that mean for us here in America and possible U.S. involvement? Waleed Farris, Victoria Coates on the other side of the break will join us.
What's there?
Attention, former Marines and family members stationed at Camp Lejeune. If you lived or worked at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina for at least 30 days from August 1950.
I'll move that for a while while they're yanking down their commercials. I'll wait till we get back to actually information. Look, we got mine up ahead. Summons. And that's 50 days. Let's see. So I'm listening to the news with that pause because it's commercial right now. They're not bad. All right, so we'll just travel to it. But sometimes you can't get to the entrance. You just travel. And get to the entrance.
National security agencies are aware of that, but we have a big open gate, which is the Rio Grande, which is our southern border. And this is where the Iranians, Hezbollah, Hamas, but also the other side, the jihadists of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, even the Brotherhood at some point in time are just going in. And we saw what 1,000 of these jihadists have done in Israel. 1,000 have been penetrating that Israeli border, though briefly. What could tens of thousands do if that becomes the case in America?
Victoria, just about 30 seconds left, though. We know this this administration, not only the money that's been sent, the first reaction was talking about a ceasefire, a tweet that had to be walked back by an embassy, just hours after this attack. Blinken hopscotching all around the Middle East. Doesn't sound like he's making any dent there with the diplomatic efforts. I mean, where do we go from here? And Biden, we do have the radical left who is going to already. We see the media talking about the genocide in Palestine and not taking the side of Israel and the atrocities here that were committed by Hamas.
Yeah, the president has had some uncharacteristically strong words, but those words need to be backed up by actions. And I don't think Secretary Blinken, as you said, is gaining much traction. And to Waleed's point, we have to be very mindful about what's happening here at home, because we had this day of rage last Friday, and no, it wasn't particularly violent or successful, but they were just showing us at that point that they're here. They're in the United States. And that's what we have to attend to, as well as just be utterly unequivocal about our support for Israel.
Victoria Coates, Waleed Phares, appreciate you both for your analysis today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we continue to watch what is happening overseas very closely. The Pentagon sending a second carrier, as we just mentioned, to the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. Israel preparing to expand its operation in Gaza. What does this mean for the next phase of this war and concerns of escalation with Iran? Details ahead on Newsline.
All right. Hey, man, I get out of here. I get out of this crazy place. Let me listen to the commercials. Oh, it came in. Try it again. There. Oh, I don't like when I can't eat. Making me hungry. They got what? Let's wait for that thing.
Officials telling Newsmax that Israel is expecting multiple waves of attacks from Palestinians in the West Bank and from Israeli Arabs, also Hezbollah forces in Lebanon and Syria. Newsmax has also learned from a source close to the UN that skirmishes between Hezbollah and Israel are escalating very quickly. And the UN folks who are on the ground in Lebanon are reporting that they believe a likelihood of a full-scale war between Hezbollah and Israel is now likely. Let's talk about this closer and welcome in Executive Director of Polaris National Security and the former State Department advisor to Iran, Gabriel Noronha, is with us. Also today with us, retired Brigadier General of the U.S. Air Force, Newsmax contributor, Blaine Holt. Gentlemen, it's great to have you both in today. Thank you so much for your time.
Great to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Seems like we're at a very critical point today as we watch what is happening there. The next step will be the IDF's move and what this ground offensive could look like. But General Holt, you're not just concerned about that. You're saying there's also 2, 3, 4 steps ahead in this plan, directly what Iran is pulling the strings of. So what are they?
Yeah, so what we have to look at now is as the IDF commits itself into Gaza fully, then we should probably watch Hezbollah and Syrian forces create a second and a third front, potentially even Iran on a fourth axis. What Israel is doing in anticipation of that is they've just cleared 28 villages near the border, calling it a military zone. Hezbollah is moving military logistics to the border. They have been firing rockets throughout the night in. So this can get a lot bigger, a lot faster, and make the situation for the IDF much more complicated. The question is, what will we do about it? What's our strategy? What's our plan in the middle of all of this?
I think that's extremely valid, and it brings me perfectly to what I wanted to ask you, Gabrielle, was that, you know, you noted on Twitter, and you said very rightfully, that the international community has supported long and drawn-out urban warfare operations to destroy folks like ISIS. But here we have Israel trying to fight Hamas, and these same folks are urging Israel to back down and withdraw before the job is done. You say that is not a recipe for success. So clearly already you think we're not doing what needs to be done as far as support. What is your reaction to where we are today and the possibility of the U.S. having to get involved with these with these ships that are going to the Mediterranean, and where we could go if Iran does take direct intervention?
You're absolutely right. Look, when ISIS took over Mosul, U.S. forces, along with an international coalition, spent dozens, over 100 days working to extricate them from that city. It was brutal, it was violent, but it had to be done to make sure that those terrorists couldn't harm the rest of the world. The same has to be done in Gaza today. When it comes to Hezbollah in Lebanon, look, if they attack Israel, there are going to be dozens, perhaps hundreds more American casualties on the ground. We should make clear that we will not be a neutral bystander in that conflict. And we have 2 aircraft carriers there. We should be ready, able, and willing to help Israel defeat a terrorist group attacking a democratic nation there. That's the best way to prevent that war from breaking out in the first place.
We obviously heard from FBI Director Christopher Wray over the weekend as well, on the record, on camera, talking about lone wolves and an uptick on threats here. General Holt, your reaction to his warnings for Americans?
Yeah, it just seems like he's getting that on the record so he can talk about it at some future time. This is what's incorrect. He should not be going to a regularly scheduled conference to let something like that out. With what we saw last Saturday and all of the undocumented illegals we have in this nation, millions of them, he should be getting up on a stage and having a press conference just for that with the nation. In fact, it should be the president of the United States. And to pick up on what Gabriella said, we should be getting out there with our words now as deterrence, because The carrier group has certainly not changed any behaviors in the Med, but maybe we should be standing up now and saying where America stands on this exactly.
Gabrielle, final word to you, 20 seconds, sir.
Look, there were 128 Hezbollah operatives who've been arrested in the United States from 1997 to 2020. There is a significant risk to the public, and the FBI and Department of Justice need to take it seriously. I really hope they do.
Gabrielle Noronha and General Blaine Holt, great to see you both, gentlemen. Thank you. Please come back soon.
Great to see you.
Thanks to have.
All right, so watching the very latest on the ground here in Israel, team of reporters for you, and also in Lebanon. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be back soon here on Newsmax.
An important message for Americans age 50 to 85.
Oh my gosh, you're still using Mom's old coffee pot.
It's my inheritance.
Well, it is a family heirloom.
You know what? The kids can just sell it to pay for my funeral.
It's a good thing you have life insurance.
Life insurance with our family history.
Don't you know about Colonial Penn? It's guaranteed acceptance whole life insurance with no medical questions asked.
I'm on a fixed income.
Who isn't?
You have it?
We all do. John, Maria, even Paul with all of his medical problems.
Colonial Penn.
That's right. Colonial Penn Life Insurance Company. As you get older, your health may change. Colonial Penn understands that. And we don't think it should keep you from getting life insurance to help protect your family. That's why we guarantee acceptance to everyone aged 50 to 85. No health questions, no medical exam. Applying is easy. And you have your choice of options starting at $9.95 a month, a few dollars a week, 35 cents a day. And your price will never go up. A lifetime rate lock guarantees it. This protection can last a lifetime, too. Some insurance policies end once you reach a certain age. Not this one. Pay your bill, and it's yours to keep for as long as you'd like.
How did you apply?
Called for information, got an application, filled it out, sent it back. It took a few minutes. And look at this. They sent me this free beneficiary planner just for calling. I filled in all my important information and final wishes. Now my kids will have everything they need in one place.
Ready to learn more? Call for free information and your free gift. There's no obligation. Every policy we issue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee.
No,
We have nothing.
I want that. Yeah. Well, this is just kind of recovering everything over and over and over. Fortunately, we don't have anything going on. Fortunately, probably going to happen soon enough.
between Gaza and Egypt, a land bridge there. We've heard that trucks carrying aid have been stalled. They're waiting to pass through. And also the hospitals in Gaza are waiting on water, power, and some medicine as supplies there near depletion. Israeli airstrikes last week did force the shutdown of the Rafah bridge. That is Gaza's only land connection to Egypt. And again, there are words that some humanitarian aid is now being possibly stolen by Hamas terrorists as it arrives there. Israel is planning a huge counteroffensive. We know Israeli troops are massing near the border with Gaza. We have a team of reporters live for you there on the scene. We have much more ahead for you coming up in our second hour of Newsline. We'll be right back with much more for you here.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Relaxing Leg Cream for a good night's sleep.
Is it time for bed, but those uncomfortable feelings in your legs are keeping you awake? Get relief and get to sleep with MagnaLife Relaxing Leg Cream.
Available at your local retailer.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Have both Medicare and Medicaid? Now's the time to explore your options and choose the coverage that's right for you. Choose a plan that offers you more benefits at no additional cost. Millions of members turn to WellCare for benefits and services that go beyond basic Medicare and help them lead better, healthier lives. Choose a plan with zero or low monthly premiums, co-pays, and deductibles. And with WellCare, you don't just pay less, you get more. More dental with comprehensive coverage, including dentures and crowns. More vision and hearing with an eyewear allowance and hearing aids plus prescription drug coverage with $0 preferred generics and free home delivery. Call us at 1-877-266-1252 to speak to a friendly licensed representative and request a free all-in-one guide. There's no obligation. We're here to help you review your options to see if a WellCare plan is the right decision for you. WellCare has a large network of quality doctors and specialists. Plus, we offer PPOD SNPs with the freedom and flexibility to choose your preferred provider in some areas. Enjoy free over-the-counter healthcare items and free meals delivered to your home. Get convenient access to care with our telehealth services, including online doctor visits and a free gym membership with online classes. WellCare is a leader in government-sponsored health care. It has been serving those with Medicare, Medicaid, and prescription drug for more than 35 years. Call now. We're here to answer your questions and even assist enrolling you.
We got commercial going again. I reply.
The U.S. Embassy in Cairo also says it's currently tracking at least 253 Americans who are trying to get out before the offensive begins. And the head of Israel's Shin Bet domestic intelligence agency is now taking responsibility for failing to prevent Hamas from carrying out its deadly rampage through those Israeli towns, which we now know the terror group was instructed to, quote, kill as many as possible and capture hostages. Hi, everybody. I'm Bianca Della Garza, 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, 8 p.m. in Israel. And on Newsline now for you, we've also learned Iran saying it will make, quote, direct intervention in the war if Israel invades Gaza, which we know they are preparing to do just that. You're looking live here at rockets that are going off over the city of Tel Aviv, again, just after 8 o'clock in the evening there. Our Daniel Cohen on the ground there reporting for us, taking cover and taking shelter there as you see a very active situation. We also know that there may be some protesters gathering on the streets in Tel Aviv. So tense moments here as you look at the skyline here, the cameraman getting sort of a look here and getting assembled here while they're looking at the sky and also trying to, of course, maintain safety, the most important part here. Now, again, what is happening over in Gaza? 600,000 have fled from the northern part today. Israeli forces operating on the Lebanese border also say they came under fire. So it's not just Gaza, but also the border with Lebanon, where counterstrikes have been happening. And the number of hostages that Hamas is holding is now up. Before it was believed to be 150. Well, now Israel today says it is 199 captives. Also, Israel believes Iran had been planning these attacks for at least a year. Hamas had sophisticated training and intelligence. Still, our president, Joe Biden, says he believes there is no direct link to Iran for this attack. Biden canceled a campaign trip to Colorado today for some national security meetings. Here closer to home, FBI Director Christopher Wray warned of a spike in reported domestic threats linked to Israel's war against Hamas, warning Americans to look out for lone actors. And the number of Americans killed has risen to now 30. 14 still unaccounted for. But again, there is a lot of action happening on the ground in the Middle East. Again, we're looking live here at the sky in Tel Aviv where rockets are coming in. We want to get you now to our John Huddy, who's in the south, and Ashkelon with what he's been seeing there, and also rockets where you have been today too, John.
Well, it constantly there's rocket barrages. I mean, that's been the case since this war started. You saw last week when we were, taking cover with incoming rocket fire. That's been the case throughout the day. And then, as you just mentioned, I'm seeing the warning sirens going off in Tel Aviv, Bat Yam, which is in the Tel Aviv area, and some of the surrounding cities and communities there, as Hamas continues to fire barrages at southern Israel communities and the kibbutzim that came under attack, the kibbutzes, the towns, the villages that came under attack as well, continuing to, with the operation destroy Hamas. Earlier today, though, first off, we went to a military base here in the south of Israel, I won't say where, for security reasons, but we were shown basically a cache of weapons that were captured from Hamas just yesterday. We were taken into basically two areas. One was basically a large hangar where all the weapons were laid out. We're talking about anti-tank mines. We're talking about thermobaric grenades. These are grenades that are usually used on tanks, but were, according to the IDF, thrown into people's homes, along with RPGs that were fired through the doors of people's homes in these villages during that barbaric, savage, heinous attack that started early Saturday morning. And along with the RPGs, North Korean, Soviet-era RPGs, the IDF found Iranian mortars.
Yeah, actually,
this is the first time, according to the IDF,
I gotta get blood drawn again.
Iranian mortars.
So I got it. No kidding. So they were setting up some booby traps. Big surprise there. Not. Oh, man. Not looking forward to this. I don't like not eating. Bacon's better than vegetable oil. I said what I said. All right, time to Head back to regular civilization. Make some potions, get me some money, make me some armor. 12 o'clock? Yep. Yeah, that's one thing. It's just hereditary. You know, and my one brother who eats like garbage always had better cholesterol than me. I never did understand that. It's like, are you kidding me? There we go. Let's make some armor. My bad cholesterol was good. My good cholesterol was bad. Just can't win for losing. Need steel, need steel, need steel. I need steel ones. There we go. You're carrying too much weight. I drank one bottle of water, getting ready to start on my second one. I think that's what I did last time. It got me in a little trouble. I really didn't drink any water. So that was time to get my blood test. They were having some issues. All right, let's see what One America knows. There we go, homepage, there we go. Yeah, there. Let's see what One America News is covering. So he's putting all sorts of BS. I don't daily feed. There we go. Live. Yeah, subscribe. Not gonna do that. Oh, World War III has been going on. Like seriously, it's been going on for a while. I mean, they're just they slowly get sucked into it. The problem is that it brings the war here. We get involved in this war. We have too many Palestinians here. So, I mean, violence will just escalate. There's no way it won't. So we know there's going to be more violence going on. All right, back. I just keep getting things about food. Walk in the kitchen, like, well, there's food here. You should be eating. I want more food. So you get in a hole quick. Need to take the doggo out. Well, the actual war. I know, but I don't see us avoiding it. I guess the only thing we got going on our side is we got Idiot Boy in charge. So they won't let him make a decision. He may think he's making a decision, but he's not. They keep wanting to eat. Wants to eat. Yeah. All right. you know, I doing on. Oh, there we go. I'm going to share one of my views
mostly for my prep channel. But so it's Friday the 13th, and you've got terrorist factions calling for violence. So far there's been a teacher stabbed in a school in France. Someone yelling there, whatever they're saying is. And we got some idiots blocking a bridge in New York City. New York City? It just astounds me at the level of indoctrination that is out there. I mean, tell me you don't have a life by showing me it. And being out in New York City, blocking a bridge, risking somebody just losing it and running you over because it's getting old and people are getting frustrated and they're getting less tolerant. You know, I'll be honest with you. If you're blocking a major road that people need to get to hospitals, you know, police need to get to fire, or, you know, police and firemen need to get to emergency things, and you're blocking it, I think you should be run over. Your mama taught you, stay out of the road. Stay out of the road. Nothing you're doing there is going to change what's going on over there. They've been at each other for 2,000 years, if not more. Ain't going to change it. And you're not part of a cause. You're an irritant. That's what you are. You're not helping anything out. I see these people, and young and old, and I just look at them going, obviously, there's not enough going on in their life. You know, I seen, when I was out in California, I seen these people, they had been there 40, 50, 60 years, 70s, you know, protesting, you know, President Trump. Beautiful day, 70 degrees and sunny. And here they are on a corner of a street, their signs up. And I rolled down the window. I said, get a life. Seriously, sunny, 70 degrees, nice weather. I'm outside, and I'm not holding some damn sign. I'm not out there going, I don't like President Biden. All right? I don't, but I don't need to sit there out in the street and tell people. All right? I tell them my vote. And this gluing your hand to the road, I'd leave you. I'm asking you. I wouldn't sitting there and putting solution out there for your hand. I'd leave you there for a day or two. I'd make it really painful. So you would think twice before you did something like that, because the same activist does it again next week. Oh yeah, let's sit there and glue myself to the road, and if somebody's really, really in a bad mood and wants to run me over, well, I can't do anything about it because I done glued my ass to the road. The level of stupidity is just astounding. You know, they're talking about lowering the standards of the ASVAB test because they can't fulfill recruitment. ASVAB test is not that difficult. And I'm sorry if you flunked it, but it wasn't that difficult. You just needed to have some basic third grade math, history, and problem solving skills, and you'd have it figured out. So I don't know. I'll continue after I fuel up here. All righty, I'm back. Topped off, $3.51.9 a gallon. Let's see what it is next week. So I guess the only military that's meeting its recruitment levels are the Marines. Might have something to do with their motto, the few. Proud of the Marines. But Navy and the Army and Air Force are having problems making their goals, offering huge incentives. And, you know, being an Army myself, and 2 kids in Navy and 1 still in the Air Force, I could still understand why they're having problems. You know, who wants to go in when there is a war in Ukraine, when there now is a war in the Middle East between Israel and terrorist groups of Palestine, and the potential of things going south in China and Taiwan, North Korea and South Korea, Russia. I can't blame kids for saying, you know, maybe a trade school might be a better way to go. You know, can't afford college because, no, they're not going to forgive that loan. Can I be honest with you? Unless you're going into a degree that's going to get you a real career. A liberal arts degree is not the advantage it used to be. You know, somebody look, oh, you got a liberal arts degree and this person doesn't. I'll give bonus points to that. I don't think employers are looking at it that way anymore. I think they're looking at somebody who went to trade school and showed up to his job every day and doesn't need a safe space, doesn't get offended by words. Maybe I'll hire that person because the chances of them coming to work are far better. So I think I'll hire that one. Not the person that went to a university that's been known for lots of disruptive protests. And I'm looking at it, they got no job history. Is this person going to be a good employee, or is this person going to be a future lawsuit? You make your own games, kids. All right? Karma does finally come around. All right? The reason you're not being successful is not because somebody's rich. All right? The reason that you're living in your mom's basement and not working and you're 30 years old is not because there's a billionaire out there. It's because of you. Now, doesn't make times are easy to do it. No, they're not. Very hard. I'm in my 60s and I'm still working a full-time job and working overtime to make the bills meet that. Really, you know, when it comes to retirement age, which I actually am at retirement age, and the way the world situation is and the way the economy is going, I'm going to be working for the next couple of years at least. And I have my own problems to deal with in that, but I don't blame some politician. I don't blame some rich person of my problems. All right? They're all on me, and I'll get them settled one way or another. Hopefully, I'll get them settled well. That's just the way it is. And to go out there and try to blame an entity for your own personal problems. Now, when it comes to the problems the country is having, that's a different story. You know, we have a political party, the Democratic Party, or I call it the Democratic Party, that can't define a woman. And who won Woman of the Year? Are you kidding me? You know, maybe make it a Person of the Year. But Woman of the Year? I'm sorry, it's a dude. So, you know, you can be Person of the Year. Nothing wrong with that. There's no definition on there. But, you know, this is like the fourth time that a award that should belong to a biological woman has been given to a man. World, you've lost your mind. And I don't blame you for losing your mind because people are accepting it. You know, how does it change? You sit there and you write letters, you send emails. You know, you go out there and let them know, I'm not accepting this. Don't glue yourself to a highway. Just don't do that. But you make your voices heard. And too many people are not making their voices heard because, well, understandably, they could lose a job. They could not be accepted to a job because of their social media presence. They could be refused entrance into a university because they made statements towards a political faction. That just happened. Not that I agree with their statements they made, but I agree with their right to make them. You don't bar somebody from a university because they happen to be on the side of one group versus another. It's freedom of speech. Do we have freedom of speech? I don't think so. Now, yeah, you can't yell fire in a theater. You can't do something that's going to cause harm. But you almost have to be careful what you put on social media. There's times I had people say stuff, and I sent them a message, direct message, saying, you really don't want to be putting that out there. That stays out there forever. It's okay to say, listen, I think a woman should get the awards for women. I think men should get awards for men. And the ones that want to identify one way or another, make that person of the year. We can make it in other categories. There are solutions. They don't want solutions. They want division. That is what they want, division. They're not looking for solutions. Solutions are pretty much easy. Will you make everybody happy? No, you won't. Life is that way. Get over it. But there's an easy solution. Well, you have to refer to them as their, gender they identify as. I should just refer to them as the name they identify as. Okay? You say your name's Lydia. Hi, Lydia. How you doing? I'm not going to use a he, she, they, ze, thems, whatever, because I don't do that now. I don't go, hi, Jim, he, him, how you doing? Why would you put that on your Twitter or X thing? He, him. Why would, or she, her? Why would you put that down there? Really? Doesn't even matter. You're George, you're Sheila, you're Carol, you're Julie, whatever your name is. Just identify by your name. See? Problem solved. Don't need no law. Ain't no hate speech. If somebody wants to sit there and say they need to identify in a plural thing, I don't have to do that. Just what name are you today? Oh, you're Patrick? Hi, Patrick. How you doing? Solved. So it's easy solutions to some of the stuff that they try to make a huge problem. Why are they trying to do it? Keep you distracted. What are you keeping distracted of? Well, there's some wars out there, guys, gals, and others. There's some wars out there. And by the recruitment numbers, it seems like most of you young people, I don't blame you, don't want to be involved. All right? It's different if you're going to fight for your country, fight for your way of life, protect your property and your family. But to go overseas and protect somebody else's that really has nothing to do with you, and I served. I was stationed over in Korea, sitting right on the DMZ, staring at the North Koreans. They were staring at us. We had no love for each other. Zero. Had we met in another area, probably would have got along just fine. I knew what I signed up for. And I signed up right after Vietnam was over. So there wasn't a very good feeling about the military at the time. After it was over, I'm not that old. But I did get some benefits of being in the service. I learned skills. Not skills you can use in the civilian world, but I learned skills. But I also learned how to problem solve. I learned how to continue on a path, how to make a plan, how to follow through, how to work against adversity, how to be responsible, how to be a good father, how to be a good husband, how to be a good friend. The military taught me that. It gave me the basics and the foundation to grow. And you always want to be growing. When you get my age, there's always room for improvement. And right now, we're not trying to grow as a nation. A large portion are not trying to self-grow. So what happens? They look for a cause, climate change. Give you a clue, kiddies. Climate's been changing since the Earth was formed. All right? Pollution, that's a different thing. Stop throwing beer cans out on the roads, betas. And yes, I'm going to sit there and put this towards the males, because I don't think very many females, at least in my experience, I didn't see too many women or girls throw trash on the road. It seems always been the guys. All right. Chemical companies, treat your stuff. maybe not make such toxic stuff. I don't know, just an idea. Yourself, when you're buying food, read the ingredient label, and you may think twice about buying that food. You might want to buy something different. I don't buy pancake syrup. I buy pure maple syrup. What ingredient? Maple syrup. Pancake syrup, read the ingredients back there. You may have to take a chemistry class afterwards. You know, these are things that we can make the world a better place by, A, stop voting a party ticket and actually look at what they've done while they're in an office, and why are you putting the same person in office for 45 decades? That's ridiculous. Start looking at what their actions are. How somebody like Gavin Newsom and Beto O'Rourke can feed you with such blatant propaganda. And once you look into the story 3 levels deep, remember, your best lies are based on something true. You'll understand how full of it these people are. That's the Democratic Party. Now let's switch over to the Republican Party. All right, Republican Party, you need to get your act together. But one thing I'll give the Democratic Party, they all sing the same tune. They do. But one does, they all do. Republican Party, you guys are so divided, you're never going to get anything done. Get your head out of the forward point of contact, get a House Speaker, and get things done. Or I'm going to start writing in candidates. Playing games. Posturing. And independence, be a true independent. Don't be a damn Democrat. Don't be a Democrat. I've seen every independent I've researched vote exactly like a Democrat. So you're a Democrat. All right? Sometimes the other side gets things right. And then the House, Senate, stop making bills that are thousands of pages long. Get all the fat out of it. Tell your donors, yeah, we're not going to be able to give you favors. We actually need to get the country back here. That's my spin on things. You know, so much of this can be easily taken care of by simple solutions, but they don't want simple solutions. They don't want them. I remember President Carter trying so hard at Camp David to make peace between the Palestinians and the Jews. It ain't going to happen. They don't want it. Palestinians have rejected every offer. Every offer. Only thing they want is the elimination of the other side. Period. That's my take on it. That's after watching them since the early, well, I would say the mid-70s. This is what they've been. They haven't changed. And then I see people make comments about how the latest war is being conducted. And they obviously do not have a tactful or strategic mind. Even some of the creators out there I do enjoy listening to. I'm sorry. Well, they're only giving them 24 hours to move. Yeah, of course they are. You only got to go 13 miles. Well, they can't do that. Yeah, they can. It's an inconvenience. Oh, that definitely is. War is hell. Who pays for it the worst? Civilians. Every war. Every war. And it sucks. But there's at this point, there's no way around it. There really isn't. Why have they only give them 24 hours? Well, why the enemy times said they're booby trapped every damn thing. You know, some people are just looking at that little flash and going, oh, that's terrible. Well, why are they doing it? What would happen if they did? What happens if they give them a week? Well, they go in there and there's bombs exploding all over the place and it ain't theirs. So, yeah, that war is going to be hell. A lot of civilians are going to pay for it. It's unfortunate on both sides. But now we're letting it spread throughout the whole world. They're calling for Jihad Friday or whatever you want to call it. All right, you're in this country. If you don't support this country, leave. Seriously. If you do violence, we need to do more violence. time of trying to be the world's police. I think it's over for this country. We need to stop doing that. We need to take care of our own people here. We need to secure our damn borders. We need to know who's here, and we need to implement the easy solutions to these easy issues. And just because you identify as multiple things doesn't mean you get more rights than me. You got the same rights I have. You don't get any more. You got the same ones. You just want to cry and be paid attention to, in my opinion. That's all it's about. Now, you disagree? Great. You have that right. Everybody has that right. This weekend, everyone, stay safe, be alert. I'd avoid the big cities. I'd avoid any concerts or anything, just saying. Because right now, those are definitely going to be high value targets to those who don't give a crap about you. They don't care if you die. They don't even care if they die trying to kill you. They don't care. They're not like you. Start understanding that. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week.
We were on a guided museum tour. I'm not an art person, but then I found something that spoke to me. Explore over 300,000 travel experiences you'll remember. Do more with Viator.
Rhythm. That's like the common word you'll hear in like sprinters, right? Or running. Like you got to be in the right rhythm, and you might get faster without actually improving your velocity ability by just getting in better rhythm. And what they're meaning by that is learning what to fire, what to relax, and having that fire, relax, so a joint can move and then be ready to strike again.
But is this autonomic or conscious?
It can be both. Yeah, absolutely be both. It's mostly, though, the idea would be to make this as subconscious as possible. So you're just in the moment, relaxed and moving, and everything is understanding when to contract and when to relax. So
sure. All righty. Well, that was fun, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm going to try to get some chores done here before I head to work. Kind of a non-productive day, which I knew it was going to be. Thanks for joining in. A few of you that did. Help me with my watch time. Everybody have a good week. Stay safe, stay alert, stay strapped.